Hi, this is Dan Thompson. Welcome back to my channel, and it's great to see you all. And I decided to make a video inside today because it's just too hot to sit in the car. It's very hot here and humid, as I know it probably is across the country. But I thought I'd try and do an indoor one today. So here it is. And this video, we're going to get right into it because this is about the movie The Birds. The Birds is probably one of my 3 favorite movies of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, Vertigo, and The Birds. I like each of them for different reasons. Probably Vertigo, and I don't know, it's even hard to choose right now. But it's a great movie. It was made in 1964. It's based on a book. I think a French author wrote it, and from what I've heard, hope the light's okay in here. I've heard that the book is even better than the movie, which is hard to imagine because the movie is so good. It stars Rod Taylor and Tippi Hedren. And Tippi Hedren wasn't really that much thought of as an actress. She was more of a model when they were casting this movie. But Hitchcock liked her, and so he cast her as Melody Daniels. Starts in San Francisco, where she and Rod Taylor meet at a store where they sell birds, of all things. And they have a little argument because he recognizes her, and she's like the daughter of a magazine owner, and has a history of being a little, with a wisp and just kind of a wild child, but she's trying to overcome that, and but he kind of teases her about it. She doesn't like it at all, and then he leaves, but he mentions before he goes that he's there to buy some lovebirds for his sister who's having a birthday, and then she watches him drive away because she wants to get his vehicle license number. And which she does, and calls a friend at her father's paper to have it traced, which is kind of weird. That's the first kind of weird thing about The Birds, is why she is so interested in Rod Taylor, this guy that she doesn't even know, and she's kind of ticked off at him. But why would she end up following him all the way to Bodega Bay, which was 60 miles away? But it's a movie, and movies don't always make sense. So she drives up there with 2 lovebirds and a note for him saying, basically, you're a jerk, but hopefully these lovebirds can treat you be nicer. Arrives in a little town, finds out where they live, rents a boat because she wants to surprise them at their home, goes across Bodega Bay in the boat, and goes into the house, which is kind of, I don't know, Ellie's kind of headstrong, and she leaves the birds and a note for the sister, and a note for Mitch, which she takes in with her, but she tears up and brings back with her. And then she gets back in the boat, or she's trying to get back in the boat, and he sees somebody leaving, but he's not sure because he was outside the house while she was inside. And so he follows her back along the way, back to the little town of Bodega Bay, and she gets hit by a bird comes right down, hits her head, and they arrive, and she arrives at the dock, and he's waiting there at the dock, and he helps her into the restaurant. And she's bleeding fairly badly, but not really badly. And they have a little talk, blah blah blah. Why are you here? I'm staying with the school teacher. Is my friend, she says, but she's not. And but she ends up staying with the school teacher. So let me tell you some interesting things. Basically, I'm going to try and keep this a little bit shorter than the last one, but there's some interesting things. The school teacher, Annie, is played by Suzanne Pleshette, who you'll probably remember from the Bob Newhart show from the 70s. She was his wife on the show. And she, later on, says that she used to go out with Mitch, but Mitch's mother wasn't very keen on the idea because she didn't want to have anybody take Mitch away from her, even though he lived in San Francisco and only came up for the weekend. She's afraid that she'll be alone. So they had this wonderful scene where Melanie and the school teacher are hanging out in the house where the school teacher lives, and they're having some brandy and they're talking. And I remember one time when I saw the movie, I thought, it seems like a Friday night movie after work. I don't drink myself, but I can see hanging out with they have a quilt. I think at least one of them has a quilt over them to stay warmer, and they're talking and it just has a relaxed Friday night feel. Where Monday is a whole 2 days away and you're not thinking about it and you're just enjoying the calm of Friday night. At least that's how I saw it. It's hard to explain, but anyway. So Mitch calls on the phone and wants to talk to Melanie, which she does, and invites her to his sister's birthday party, which is the next day. And Melanie says, sure, yeah, I'll come. Yeah, that's fine. She doesn't want to let down the little girl, Kathy. That's another thing that's weird about the Birds, is that Mitch is played by Rod Taylor, who is probably like a good 30, 35 years old, maybe 30, we'll say, in the movie. And Kathy is like 15. And it's only the two kids. And you think, why did they wait 15 years to have the next child? I kind of wondered about that. Anyway, they go to Mitch's house for the birthday party for Kathy. And there's this scene with Mitch and Melanie, and they're standing there talking. One of the shots, Hitchcock did not like to shoot on location, so he only did that for a minimal amount. And he much preferred shooting back in the studio, probably because it was more controlled. So Mitch and Melanie had this scene where they're talking for a good 5 minutes, and it's kind of exposition, There's not really a lot to it. But the reason I mean it is with all the reason I mention it is with all the setup and all the special effects in this movie, the backdrop that they use for this scene where they're talking on this bluff is so obvious it's in a studio. It's just really poorly shot, which is weird because Hitchcock wasn't like that. It just looks cheap, The dialogue is fine, the acting is fine, but the look of it, you could tell it was just a painting and they were standing in front of it talking. And it's not very good. So they come back down the hill, and they're playing this game, and the kids are playing a game, and then we get the first attack from the birds, and the birds come, not like a swarm of them, but a good 40 birds come, and they're kind of biting at the children and nudging them and carrying them and like getting their shoulder, their sweaters over their shoulder and kind of dragging them a little bit. And it's terrifying. And they're like, what the heck? Heck being a euphemism. And so that ends. And they're like, why did that happen? That's so strange. Why did that happen? And so Melanie decides to stay for dinner and stays overnight. And the next day, the mother, Mitch's mother, who is played by Jessica Tandy, who does a great job in the role, goes to talk to a farmer who lives in Bodega Bay, and they have the only scene that's really graphic in the birds, and it's not like it's like some horror adventure movie that you'd see now with people being blown apart or whatever. It's just kind of graphic for the time, and there's times that I'll watch it, and then there's times I'll turn away because it's just icky. Icky is one of my favorite words. And there's this great scene when Jessica Tandy is arriving at the farm, and she's driving, for you car enthusiasts, this cool Ford F-150 truck from the 60s, which was probably new at the time. And she's just driving a regular amount of speed, but it's a long shot. All you can see is the car, is the truck rather, and driving. And then when she leaves, she's just horrified. She's just terrified. And she gets in the same truck, and it's the same shot, but this time she's leaving, and she's flooring the sucker. And there is just, all this dirt and dust coming off the road, and it's very powerful because it shows how she's just trying to get away so quickly. So she goes back to the house, and let me check the time. I don't want to waste everybody's time. 12 minutes, okay. And then we have what I think is the ultimate scene of the movie, if not one of the ultimate scenes Hitchcock ever filmed, because Mitch's mother, Lydia, I think was her name, is very concerned about Kathleen, who is now at the school. Melanie says a few times, would you like me to go check on her? And she says, would you? She didn't ask. She says, I can do it. I don't mind. And she says, oh, I'd be so grateful. Melanie gets in her car and goes to the school to get Kathy to take her home. It's coming. This is, I would say, the best scene Hitchcock ever filmed. Ever. And she gets out of her car in front of the schoolhouse. She goes into the classroom, and Suzanne Plachette, the teacher, is leading them in some song, and they're about to go up for recess. And so she kind of signals Melanie that once we get outside, we'll be outside in a minute. Melanie goes outside, and there's a jungle gym right behind them. And she walks over and finds a bench, and she sits down on the bench, and you can see behind her there's a bird on top of the jungle gym. And then another bird joins that bird. and another bird joins that bird. And the only music you're hearing is the kids singing inside the school. And the singing is this song, like a children's rhyme song. And you see Melanie, because of the time, people smoked in movies like Chimneys at the time. Melanie is smoking outside waiting, and she's just kind of looking around. And the whole time, this is the beauty of this scene. The whole time, you're watching Melanie smoke, and you're thinking, what's going on behind her? And Hitchcock is intentionally not showing you. This is brilliant. He's not showing you what's going on behind Melanie. He's leaving it to your imagination. Oh, it sets up beautifully. It's just fantastic. And then she sits and she notices this one bird flying across the sky. And Hitchcock does this long tracking shot of the bird all the way. And Melanie is watching the bird and turning, and she's turning more. And she looks behind her, and the jungle gym and a building and a swing set are all swarmed with birds. It is the freakiest moment in that Hitchcock movie and in many Hitchcock films. Let me tell you, if that doesn't give you the chills, you have no pulse. I mean, it's just amazing, and it's filmed so well. And the only words you hear are the kids, singing their little song. Melanie gets up real slowly, and you know she's thinking, oh my gosh. She goes back into school. Meanwhile, Suzanne Plachette in there has finished the song and saying, okay, time for recess. And she goes over to open the door, and Melanie says, don't open the door. And they look, and all the birds are out there. And she says, okay, we're going to show Miss Daniels what we do, how well you can do in a fire drill. And the kids are like, what do you mean? Like fire drill. And then they're like, yes, Miss Wayworth, And then she has them all go out, and they're all going down the street. And then she's told them, okay, when you reach a point, I'm going to tell you to run. And I want you to run as quickly as you can down the street. So that's what they do. The kids come out, and they start down the street. And then you hear them start running, and you see the birds appearing, and they're chasing the kids down the street. They're chasing them, they're grabbing at them, and they're doing all this stuff, and the kids are running, and they're trying to avoid the birds. And I figure they must be on treadmills or something, because it's filmed really well to show the kids from behind, the kids from the front, and they're using some kind of graphic to show the birds, and the birds coming in on them, and it's extremely exciting. Here's the fun part, too, is that I have been on that street where they filmed that scene, at least the start of it. There's a little town, don't miss it, or don't blink or you'll miss it, called Bodega, which has the schoolhouse and there's a church, you see, and I have been outside. I have pictures of that. I've been on a hill outside the schoolhouse, and for a Birds fan, it is incredible. I was like, this is it. This is where they filmed it. And my wife's thinking, that's great, honey. And I'm like, this is it. This is great. This is fantastic. and then so that happened, and then there's a lot that I need to pass on because there's more attacks. There's a larger attack on the town and a scene, um, and it's becoming a big thing. These birds are attacking the town, and mayhem and havoc are happening, and it's on the news, and and then they have kind of the last few scenes are at Mitch's mom's house, and I won't really go into that because I don't want to give away too much, but I had to tell you about the scene with the school and the street, mostly because I think the shot's great, and because I was there, and that was a lot of fun. But then what's really interesting, what really fascinates me about the birds is that they never really explain A, why the birds came, and B, if they ever leave. Because at the end, not to give you a spoiler, the birds are still there. And I thought, how fascinating, how brave it is to have a movie where you don't really explain it. There's theories about, well, the birds came because of Melanie. Frankly, I don't buy that. It's because, and the reason I don't is because what's so bad about Melanie? All she wants to do is, talk with Rod Taylor, and she's trying to, interact together. There's a whole scene about that where she's trying to be more functional, more grown up, and not, kind of like not a playgirl, but just somebody who just has fun and they don't care about responsibility or whatever. She's really trying to change her life. So I look at that and I think, well, those are the only two things about Melanie. It's like, so I don't really know, other than the fact that she's there for the majority of the movie, why people think Melanie is the reason the birds came. Because, it's a movie and she just showed up. And she hasn't really done anything bad. And she hasn't really caused any problem. So I don't really buy with the theory that it's because Melanie came that the birds came. And they never explain it. And they never explain how it will end. And that's great because movies are sometimes, I think, too neat and clean. Like, oh, you go in and they're going to explain everything to you. I don't think life needs to have everything explained to you. I think life needs to have some mystery to it. Otherwise, it would be too boring and too laid out for you. What would we have to figure out for ourselves? What decisions would we have to make for ourselves if there was like some script or some plot that we had to follow? You know what I mean? So that is really what I am very impressed about with The Birds. It's a wonderful movie. It's a great film. Oddly enough, it sounds weird, but there's some parts that are kind of draggy, but, very few. It picks up right again. So I'd really recommend it if you haven't seen it, because it's really well made and very enjoyable. So that's all about The Birds, and I hope you enjoy the video. The next time is going to be about The Wizard of Oz. I might be back in the car, I might not. But I just want to thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a wonderful upcoming weekend. It's Thursday, but Friday's coming. And I'll see you next time, okay? Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Enjoy your day.